Ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking about Israeli home front, and I think that the first question to be asked is whether Israeli civil society has proven that compared to the fiasco of the government, it is strong, powerful, and it can overcome any obstacle, including a war. Let's start with Mrs. Nira Shpak. That's your real name. Yes, please. So the answer to your question is yes, because until today, civil society is doing whatever it takes instead of the government. And Jews, and it's true also for Jews in the diaspora, but for how long will they have to do it? It has been 5 months now, so how long will it be doing it? And I'm afraid that it might harm our resilience. What did we learn in the South? What did we learn? You are deputy to the mayor of Sderot, a citizen of Sderot. What did we learn about the citizens' resilience of the State of Israel through its citizens? Good morning. We learned that we need to work at 3 levels, and we learned about the importance of the local authority, and it goes back to what Nira said earlier. In between the central government that is currently busy with warfare and defense, and on the other hand, taking care of the citizens. And citizens' resilience is based on 3 levels. First of all, personal level. How do we actually train people and help them build their confidence, the ability to contain complicated situations, to take a deep breath. And the second layer is the community level. And we saw that strong communities can overcome even inconceivable crises. They know how to pull yourself together and recover from crisis. And the third level is that the strength of a local authority projects on the ability of the entire state to deal with this crisis, because it's not all about the front, it's the home front. At the fronts, different fronts, we will be able to know what to do. Hamas, of course, will defeat Hamas, but now we have to ask the question about the home front. Are people strong enough? Can people resume their routine, which will be helpful to the soldiers to keep on fighting, and depends on the resilience and strength of the local authority. I'm going to ask you now, and Mr. Davidovitz as well. Were you deserted in the South? Were you abandoned by the state? Yeah, these are very strong words. I don't like using them. We were not abandoned just one morning, but the whole perception for the past 20 years or so was that it was just a local problem in the South. Another round, we'll survive it, and we'll be able to make it despite the problem in the South. But then we found out that it doesn't only refer to the South, it refers to the entire state. So the steep perception that it's only a local problem and that we can live with that were proven wrong. Our mayor, and we've been saying that for many years, unfortunately, we needed this wake-up call. And now let's talk about the North. Let's start. Mr. Davidovitz, were you deserted? I don't think that ever since the start of Zionism, so many people in the North were evacuated from their homes. And of course, there are international strategic implications. Good morning. So we were abandoned, of course, no question. So let's not try to make it seem nicer, and let's not use euphemism. We were abandoned, and we are still abandoned. Dear friends, from the 13th of May 1948, there haven't been even a single evacuation of residents in the State of Israel ever since May 13th, 1948, before the establishment of the state. So I'm speaking about kibbutzes like Hanita and Elon that were evacuated before the establishment of the state, because there was a concern that the Fadayuns will take over. But ever since then, it has never happened until October 7th. So we are speaking about 60,000 evacuees. There are many senior military officials, but there were no proper orders issued. It was just a mix. And the worst thing is that they have no hope and no certainty with regards to how this whole story is about to end. I heard Professor Trachtenberg speaking about this huge question mark in the room, the threat from Lebanon with the arsenal of missiles Hezbollah has. So what? You know what's the hardest thing for me is to travel from the north to the center, because I see two different states. There is one state with the most beautiful strip. I'm not objective, but the Galilee has been evacuated 5 kilometers, which has been evacuated, and there is the rest of Israel, and everybody lives as if there's no war going on. You know what's worse than that? The evacuees are the ones who has founded Chanita and Metula and Zerit, and I speak with them on a daily basis. They have in their heart and in their soul, they have a huge hole and fear, and it has never happened before. These are courageous people who build kibbutzes and moshavs along the border, but today nobody can convince them to go back to their homes. Let me just tell you that a few moments ago, El Chabar newspaper announced that the state of Israel contacted Europe and notified them that until 15th of March, if there is no arrangement, the IDF will become more offensive. So we have a week to see how it all evolves, this hot potato. Now I'm telling you, if there is no arrangement, I'm not even sure that there will be an escalation. So we'll go back to the north in a moment. Former General Tzvika, I want to speak about the connection between the home front resilience, and military strength and deterrence, how it's perceived by our enemy, because it's all tied together. And as civilians, we can be proud of the conduct of Israeli public ever since October 7th. So please clarify the connections. So a leader in the north that says my residents are too afraid to go back home. A leader in the south that said that they were abandoned there because of the conception. This also goes back to what Nira Shpak told us. So try to connect it all and tell me, complete the sentence. The state of Israel today is, well, first, I've been wearing uniform for 38 years. It was very difficult for me to say Moshe Davidovitz that he was abandoned. It's very, very difficult. Whoever was in charge of preparing the home front understand the resilience and big questions of how you create resilience, mostly in order to allow the IDF to obtain its objective. This is a main concern, but the question is, how do you connect the dots? Now you have to say the state of Israel that excelled in recent years in providing solutions to missiles, because we have detection system, the best in the world, the state-of-the-art system, and we have the best interception and protection systems, etc., etc., etc. Israel was caught in a very caught by surprise on October 7th. It's a kind of threat we were not used to. This attack of the Gaza envelope, and of course the realization that it can happen in the north as well, and it's very complicated. And when you connect the dots, you understand that if you really want resilient, you need to work on components of the systems, and the civilian resilience is a collection of several components, and that if they are not there, they are not there. So first of all, we need to think about the preparation of the public in Israel. And in Israel, it seems as if everybody is a soldier. And the second thing is family. We can talk Moshe. They can talk about family in terms of resilience. And the third component is community. We see that communities manage to handle crisis better than other places where there aren't any communities. Add to that the mayors, the leaderships of heads of council, the strength and their independence in Israel, that actually they became very clear to us that they are very resilient. So you need individuals, you need the community, we need the local authority. And what we've seen here recently is this solidarity, this willingness, masses of volunteers. We call it the third sector. It's so impressive, and this builds resilience. Yes, of course, this is all it takes. Now, I just want to ask another question, and then let me ask you again as a former commander in the IDF.
Can the state say to itself, I as a state, as a government, as a central governing entity, can I rely on Davidovitz, Kalimi, and Nira, Shpak on the ground and on the civilian front for them to manage things? I don't even have to be in that picture, and I'm still powerful, and the IDF will still be able to fight. Is that right or wrong? No, that's wrong. It has to strengthen Davidovitz. It has to ensure that all of the wonderful things that we saw in the third sector and the volunteerism and the entrepreneurship, ultimately the state knows how to bring find that meeting between the needs and the solutions. You have to say that the public sector was shocked. Some recovered better than others. Those who deal with saving lives recovered quicker. I think that the security establishment has operated very, very well. The hospitals have been really operating extraordinarily. Other ministries that aren't used to to regularly working with emergency situations were really shocked. And only when you integrate all these things from the individual down to the other systems in the state of Israel, that's the only way that you can really strengthen the resilience of the state of Israel citizens, which was not ever placed in doubt. Anybody thought that was the case was wrong. Absolutely. Okay. So let's go back to the enemy here. That's the major question because, if I remember General Strick's last sentence, the enemy was sure that we were falling apart. This wasn't the first time the idea of the spiderweb speech in Sinwar felt this in 2023. Today, is the message coming out with that we're more powerful against our enemies, and that this society can't be pulled apart? The question is much greater than that, because if anybody thinks that our enemies don't understand what's going on here or don't know how to read read us, whoever made that mistake and failed, who thought that they won't penetrate into kibbutzes near Gaza, the Gaza envelope, the settlements there, and start to massacre us and take hostages. Up until today, 5 of our hostages all those hostages in Gaza, and they're wrong because they're looking at our leadership and our resilience. They're looking at our government and our lack of decision making. So you can't just say it's just about one thing. And that leads us to the discussion saying that don't go out. No, start to function. You are weakening us against the enemy. This is the point. That's the point, and we've reached that point where by the way, this Israeli society can't be everywhere. It can't do surgeries. It can't provide psychological support because volunteers came to us. But volunteers, I'm not sure if they're necessarily trained to provide trauma support, and that also did a lot of damage. We should say this too, because when it's not managed properly, the third sector too needs to be managed. Yoel, I was your subordinate when we dealt with this, when we understood that you can't go into Sderot with trucks and with everybody doing whatever they want. There has to be an entity set up there to manage the third sector. Otherwise, everybody does whatever they want, and then you end up with a lot of harm. So the state of Israel has failed, and I'm saying that it failed because, first of all, we were conquered. Let's say this out in the open. We were conquered in the north. We were conquered without even the terrorists even penetrating in. They came, it's even more insulting. It's less traumatic, but it's much more offensive when you have empty communities without one terrorist having crossed the border, and that's something we have to deal with. This is how, and we have to bring people back under that. And our resilience will be harmed because at this moment here, the residents of the Gaza envelope are sitting in a hotel and they don't know whether they should pack their bags or not because up until now they were supposed to vacate their rooms in the hotels and get that grant. But since yesterday, within the government ministries, they're going to extend it to the 17th of the month. And why are they thinking of doing that? Because if they leave one day later, they'll get 50%. So everything is uncertain. They're saying, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow morning. Let's take the grant at least. They bought us with a grant. Let's put that on the table. And they're sitting and waiting for somebody to remember. And to my assessment, this will happen in the course of the day. They'll say on the 17th, here we provided a solution after that time. So resilience isn't guaranteed forever. I think there are many people want to leave. There are requests from many people about whether they should leave the hotels rooms or not. I don't really connect to that feeling that nobody's really functioning. I don't think that's true. The state of Israel is assessed. We saw civilian power as well as ethical power and ethics and decision making and in the system of the military and the government as well, because it's the same thing, that these are functioning. They're not functioning well enough because in emergency situations it's very hard to function. Okay, so I decided, as somebody who was a commander in the Gaza division. I was a member of Knesset in the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Knesset, and I understood the gaps that existed. I refuse to do that verbal whitewashing. It doesn't function, or that doesn't describe a situation where settlements in Israel were conquered. It can't be in a situation where residents aren't able to go to school, to get a health care response for the healthcare system and for the welfare system. They don't know where they're going to be tomorrow. How could it be that that the clothes that we got was from donors because we left our homes without toothbrushes, or that people and that there's no system that's organizing this today. So I will not use that verbal whitewashing. And there are two things that are outside of this. The IDF. In terms of the trust for the IDF, and I think that we have fighters in the IDF and the entire system that really those are our hope. And the second thing that I'm taking out of this criticism is some of the ministries that are managing to overcome, but they have to explain why they haven't been there until now. I would like to dwell a little bit on that, and I think that because we don't see it, because a settlement like Sderot, and I know that the mayor really ran around from one place to another for many months between the hotels in order to sit down with people and ask and find out how those people were. In the city, it's a city, it's not a settlement. There are people who are saying, we're not coming home.
Yes, definitely. There are people who say that they are not going back, and it's okay. That they will never come back, yes, that they will never come back. And it's fine, because people's welfare is important more than anything else. What will make them come back? In my opinion, besides total victory, I don't know what will them come back. I'm just going to talk about what will make people come. It's important that this whole region of Gaza envelope and Sderot will prosper and will become the answer, the very clear answer, also governmental answer. And here the ministries have an opportunity to actually to improve the situation. That would be the perfect answer. The Gaza envelope will be renovated, and it will even grow. And when we see this prosperity, when people see this prosperity, when the place looks like paradise, because it will be an attractive place, and I'm optimistic. I think it's going to happen. It must happen, because there is no other option as a state, as a society. We cannot say, okay, we'll give up, or we will slowly recover. No, we have to make it happen fast. So you're not speaking about resurrection, you're speaking about growth. Yeah, I'm speaking about huge growth, and maybe it will not make all the people come back. And what will be the basis for this growth? Well, I agree with Nira. It's the ministries that allow the different local authorities to work. I'm not objective. I'm deputy mayor, but you see it on site. If you know the people, if you know the hotels, if you know their needs, then the people who know them well is the local authority. And the ministries, by the way, like the Ministry of Education, it took a while for it, but after it pulled itself together, they asked us, what do you need in order to provide education to the citizens? So the people who understood that and were there for us, then that will be the success. So this is the answer about the question about the different ministries. Let's go back to the north and let's go back to the strategic level. Mr. Davidovitz and General Strick, I want to speak about the home front. I visited you, Davidovitz, about 2 years ago, more or less, before the election. Yes, I admit. And you took me by the hand and you showed me around. You told me this is where the terrorists live, just behind the fence. And I couldn't even imagine that there were Hezbollah's forces behind the fence. We thought they were deterred. Well, I miss this word, deterrence. Let's talk a little bit about deterrence. When the enemy sees that 60,000 people from the north vanished, whole rows of houses were destroyed because of missiles, anti-tank. And the home front is not really prepared for war. Let's state the truth. Even the 5 billions that were invested by Lieberman at the time just vanished, evaporated, right? And you know better than me what I'm speaking about. So strategically speaking, could it be that there will be no north? Well, look, first of all, the north is here to stay. Without the resilience of the north, there will be no resilience for the entire state of Israel. The prime minister visited us twice recently, and I told him that we are the defense line. We are let me use the words as a farmer. I took a banana and I asked him, what is the nature of the banana's peel to protect the fruit against different bugs? And without the north and Gaza envelope and conflict zone, there is no content, there is no fruit. And he told me, Davidovitz, you're wrong. You are the fruit. And it took 70 days until he came. And in between, he instructed all ministries to produce a program for the North. And for the past, 5 months have passed. I'm really glad that Gaza Envelope has the Tkuma directorate. But in the North, there's no program for the North. You know why there is no program? Because the ministries argue amongst them. There is no program. I also travel to Jerusalem twice a week. I hate it. I really hate it because I'm the representative of the local authority just to advance the programs. You know what they do to us? They put us in a mixer and they mix us, and until this very moment there is no program. And the second time he paid us a visit, the prime minister, I told him, Prime Minister, you were here 70 days ago and you told us that we are the fruit, not the peel. I told him, you're right. I was wrong. We are the fruit, but we are rotten fruit. This is how you see us, and this is how it feels. And I'm an optimist, and I know that there will be better days, but it's impossible that for 5 months they have deserted us. 60,000 people were evacuated from their homes. I want to see who could stay in a small hotel rooms, no matter in which hotels, with 3 young children, who could actually tolerate it. And you know what? There are children at first grade that on September 1st, they went hand in hand with their parents to grade A, to the first grade. And on October 22nd, we evacuated them to a hotel, and they got used to a new system of education. And it took a while for them to get used to it. And then 2 weeks ago, the hotel announced that there is a high season and they will be evacuated soon. So what does it do to your people? I'm speaking about resilience. Listen, as I told you, ladies and gentlemen, we will prevail. We will recover. But actually, it breaks our heart. It breaks our soul. It breaks your ability as a person, as a citizen, to believe, to trust someone. and believe that someone actually understands what you're going through. Nira spoke about resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a resilience center in the Western Galilee. You know that there is the highest demand for therapy, and the demand rose by 400%. We don't have enough people. That's the situation we are experiencing. And the worst thing is that we're still live in this uncertainty, because in Gaza envelope, as the deputy mayor talked about the attractiveness or the temptations, they are tempted to get back home and they will be given grants. But yesterday, the representative of the Minister of Finance started speaking to us about moving to towers in the center of Israel to maintain the communities. So it means that it will take another year or so. So the people of Admit and Metula and Shtula will be forced to live outside their home. General Strick, I want to speak about, as you were commander of Homefront Command and Northern Command, don't take it personally, but I want to ask you, former commanders of IDF, the omnipotent commanders, how do you sleep at night when you know for years, you've known for years that the Northern Homefront is abandoned, that it's not protected, that the houses, that the government promised to invest funds in this area, but then it changes their minds. How did you sleep at night? Apropos dreams that it will be fine. How did you manage to sleep at night? When I cannot speak on behalf of IDF commanders, I can speak on behalf of myself. I can tell you that I haven't slept much when I was a commander of the Northern Command. And yes, I'm telling you, I actually went to the political echelons and I insisted and I told them that the operation to destroy Hezbollah tunnels in the north must take place. And I don't think that there is that commanders don't care or don't insist. But I want to say, I want to clarify something. I want to clarify an issue related to resources and challenges. I'm well familiar with the challenges of the Israeli home front, but I don't think that it can be compared. There is no compliance between the gaps and the needed resources to bridge all these gaps. If we and that's clear. That's why there are places which are more vulnerable, and Hezbollah have 150,000 rockets, and you've known that for years. You actually warned the decision makers, but why did you do just so that you will be able to say afterwards, well, we told you so? I'm asking you seriously. Well, the professional echelons present. I know that the political echelons, at least in the places where I took part, we presented the situation very clearly to the political echelons. And if you think that political echelons are so eager to start wars, it's not necessarily so. You just go to war if you have no other choice. And I hope that we won't reach a point where there will be a real war in the north, although I'm quite skeptic about it. But if you think that war is the solution, is the ultimate solution, now we speak about an operation in the north as we speak about picnics. So I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Hamas is just a headache in comparison to the challenge, the future challenge of the state of Israel in the north, in the context of the offensive capabilities. But it's not a walk in the park for the home front, because when you look at the current situation, there is no serious functional disorders. I don't take lightly what you what you said here. I really feel for you. I really feel for you, Nira. But let us actually, for a moment, put aside the horrible disaster of October 7th. And I'm telling you, really, when you look at the production abilities of Israel, the services that the state provides, they were not compromised. But it's not going to be the same if there is a war in the north. So I'm telling you, as a former general, I can speak on behalf of myself and the other former commanders here when we participated in different forums with the political echelons. I'm saying that eventually the professional echelon actually present all the possibilities, but it has to do with very complicated strategic questions. But I can tell you that I can talk about three different reasons why we shouldn't attack Hezbollah right away. I haven't slept much. I slept very little. And with regards to what I did on my shift, I'm proud of what we did on that time, because I think that if Nasrallah had this tool today, these tunnels, he sees it as a significant tool, then we would be in a worse situation. Maybe his considerations whether to join Sinwar on October 7th would be different. Thank you very much, and I'd like to thank the members of the panel. Thank you very much. And before you leave, I wanted to do it at the beginning, but I think that whoever is sitting here in Tel Aviv, in the Eretz Israel Museum, in the conference of the INSS, I'd like you to send a message through Davidovitz and Kalimi. I want you to give a big embrace to the citizens of the North and the South. Take it with you back to your homes. Thank you very much for your persistence, and thank you very much, and have a lovely day. Thank you.